Hello, this is Naoto, and this is the third tutorial on Hydra inside webpage. And last time we looked at web front-end framework, and we made sliders that changes the parameter of Hydra Sketch. And today I want to look into something slightly different, which is what I call visual poetry, but you can say anything, visual novel or visual whatever. Basically, I want to combine Hydra with text, which is rendered with HTML tags and CSS. For example, you see this oscillator in the background. It says welcome, and you click on it, it goes to another page. And for the test, I just made 2 pages, so it just goes back and forth, but you get the idea that with it, like, you can go proceed, and then you can see other new sketches, which could be randomized too, but let's see what we can do. So I'm gonna just move it aside, and like last time, this is the last time we did exactly the same one. By the way, I messed up some of the CSS, which was how do you say, the canvas was not fit into the entire screen and stuff, so I added some comments. You needed to have like width height 100% in different parts. Okay, but anyways, that was fixed in the link that I put in the published video. And from this sketch, this is the same one. I want to start from this because it has the template for Hydra and Torus framework, so it's a good starting point, but I will clean it up and start from there. So what I'm going to do on glitch is to remix project, so I start from there, and it will take some time, probably cloning the project, renaming, naming it a new one, let's say live. Okay, so what's the starting point? I will close this because today I think I'm gonna just edit the script because everything's there. This probably I don't need it. Hydra app, this one I need today because I still need to use Hydra, which already has, I can make it a little bit even bigger. Yeah, everything's here. Style, I think I need it so that it fits in the canvas, and the bare minimum div and canvas to be rendered. In the sliders, today I don't, well, I can keep the sliders, but just for the simplicity I'll delete this whole thing. So I have Hydra app, an awesome app. Do I need to rename it? Maybe. Poetry app, let's say. And here I don't need the sliders anymore. This is gone. In the initialization, I just have new Hydra app, which still exists, so that's good. Here I'll just keep it simple. Maybe I keep the font size, or maybe not. The control part, that was this pinkish box with sliders. I don't need it anymore. Hydra, this is needed, and this is indeed needed. That creates Hydra that fits into the whole screen. Now I don't need the control. I just need Hydra, and because I renamed awesome app to poetry app, I need to rename it. I mean, this is not needed obviously, but I just do it. Okay, so maybe I just do OS out just to make sure that it's still working, but I'll just do it later, so I'll keep it out for now. So what we have now is, actually, you can always open the inspector on the same browser, but you can also, the problem with this inspector within the editor is if you look at these tags, you have the whole thing, and this is iframe inside the page, so it gets a little bit cluttered. So sometimes it's easier to open in a new window. Just a little tip. Whatever. Well, again, I deleted OSC out, so nothing is there. If you look at the inspector, which I might enlarge, you will see that div is there. This canvas, you can ignore it. It's just something that Hydra creates when you enable the sound, like microphone input, which is enabled by default. But maybe I disable it in this case. In the Hydra app, here you can say, I forgot. Always go back to Olivia's repository, and here we go. Detect audio false. Then when it opens, it doesn't ask you to allow microphone because it's not detecting audio anymore. And you can see that in the inspector the canvas is gone. The canvas, not Hydra canvas, but I think it's the debug microphone FFT like output canvas visualizer or something. Okay, so now we have app with a div, with Hydra div, which has another div, and the canvas. It's funny, like you can actually write in the console like os out, then you can execute the code actually, and this canvas will show the oscillator. Right, this is just to make sure that the edit is reflected. And what I'm going to do now is to add a new scene, let's say. So as always, I'll just use the like this one as a template, let's say, but just leave it very simple. So instead of poetry app, maybe like welcome scene, because it's more like scene based. I mean, it's just a convention. I mean, whatever convention you make. So in the welcome scene, I want to say a message, welcome, or it's kind of boring, welcome, like a poetry, so like maybe wake up. I woke up in the middle of the night. Okay, and of course this won't show up because I need to instantiate in the poetry app, which is the kind of the master, the one that sits on top of everything. So scene is new wake up scene, and here you need to, let me just put oscillator again, or maybe something like this, just to see the layout, because the canvas is now transparent, so you don't see anything. So now I have this, and the scene I want to put, this is something with HTML and CSS that I don't explain in detail, but basically what I want to do is to have another div that contains the scene, then the class is scene, and here you have the text. But I want to have this text, let's say in the middle. I mean, not necessarily center, but something on top of the Hydra canvas. So this, you have to do it inside the poetry app styles, because I made a new scene class. I made like this. Basically it's the same as Hydra. You want to have the whole screen covering, and then maybe the Z index will be 1, so that it goes on top of this class, which has lower Z index. I mean, of course you can do 100 or 1000 or whatever that's bigger than this one. Okay, I just leave it 1. And now I have the text here, which is also okay, but maybe I do display flex. Flexbox is always good. Justify content is center line items. I just remember this by heart to make everything centered, as long as there's only one element in the as a child of this scene. And what is a child? This is a child. This is a scene object. It's node actually, which is this wake up scene, which is here, and basically this is the child of the scene class div. Well, div with the scene class. This is cool, but it's hard to read, so maybe I add background. As I said last time, if you have CSS without the brackets, like usually you have like div kind of thing, but if in Torus, if you write it without brackets, then it means that this applies to the highest parent div, and I think it doesn't work this way. I don't know if it works this way. Maybe it works. Yeah, it's a little bit weird, but like intuitively you think this associated with this div, but somehow Torus doesn't work that way, so you always have to have this. And also, funny thing is that in Torus, you, like with JDOM object, you always have one tag inside, so if you have this, it will show only once. I don't know if it's the first one or the second one. I think it's the first one. Yeah, the second one is ignored, and if you want to have several ones, you always have to wrap it with another div. It's kind of cool, so I'll just leave it like this. Okay, now, okay, the text is here. You can style it with any CSS, which is cool, but also you want to associate with this wake up scene with the wake up whatever that Hydra sketch that is triggered with the scene. And it's a little bit hard to explain for now because we only have one scene. So let's say I'm gonna just make another one. I just copy this wake up scene as a template, and I don't know what happens when you wake up, and after that you go to brush your teeth. I brush my teeth. And just one div. And so how do we organize these scenes? Because I just directly put this wake up scene here, but now we have 2, and potentially we have 3, 4, 5 or more scenes, and we want to keep it modular so that you don't make a mess. So I would say in the Poetry app, the parent one, I'll make an array and do something like this. So now I have 2 scenes, and I mean, probably there's like better ways with iterator or something, but this is probably more intuitive. So I have this index, and I want to have this scene node instead of, well, now we don't have scene member anymore, so we will have to have this scenes, and because this is an array that we created here, we point it with scene index, and now what we all need to do is to increment this index, and then if it goes beyond the length of the scenes, then it will, I don't know, you decide, you can go backwards or you go to the first scene, which I will do. How do I do it? Okay, so we need some kind of input, and I think the easiest way is click, and there are different ways to get click. If you're used to P5.js, for example, it has mouse pressed function, which is like similar to processing Java mouse pressed, but how it works, well, how it is implemented inside P5.js is basically adding event listener to the window, and you can add event listener to any DOM object, I suppose, but if you add to the window, then it will capture anything, like wherever you click, well, not outside this iframe, but on this one or this one, not this one, this one, this one, it will trigger this function. I should have just done clicked. And then if you see this console click, yes, clicked. I'm not going to enlarge this because, well, it's taking a lot of space, but it's okay. Yes, now it's counting. Good. So how do I increment? I would say I can just write it here, but somehow I decided to make a function inside the Poetry app because I feel it's a little bit cleaner. So I just called this instead of like writing tens of lines here. And this next, this scene index is this scene index. I go +1, or you can just do random or whatever you want. But I don't want this, in this case I only have index 0 and 1. So after the brush scene, I want to wrap it to the first one, and that is possible with this. If you're not familiar with these ideas, like I don't know what tutorial is good. Maybe Dan Schiffman, his videos explain quite a lot about these logics. So although some of them are in Java, some of them are in JavaScript. I mean, JavaScript is relevant to this, but I mean completely irrelevant. It's good to watch some of these tutorials to get the idea of basic programming. Yeah, I don't know who's the target of this video, but let's say, yeah, this will count from 0 to 1 to wrap to 0, 1, 0, 1. Okay, and this is not enough. Nothing's happening because, as I explained in the last video, you always have to do render to refresh the virtual DOM, which is this one, because this part you want to update and you have to do render. Okay, I brush my teeth and it's wrapping. This is great. Now for the basic functionality to begin with, I want to add a function, the Hydra function, or Hydra sketch, because now it's not changing, obviously, because outside everything, it's just executed here. The problem is, at first I thought, okay, maybe I just write it in init, but it doesn't work that way because init is like initialized, well, triggered when it's initializing, like this here, and it's not triggered, it's not fired when it's rendered actually on the page. So for example, like you might think, okay, I don't know what is good, thresh, whatever, maybe this is cool, but then actually you see that it's already in the brush scene while we're in the first one, because it's just triggered once when they're initialized. and that's not how we want. We want to make it reactive, and I think the only way we can do it is to put this in the next function. So basically, if the scene is transitioning, I say okay, not exec, scenes, this scene index, and I would add execute. I don't know what's a good name. Hydra transition, open, proceed. Execute is not, doesn't sound right. Open. Let's say open. And because we're not using init, I just rewrite as open. I don't know if we should leave empty init function or not. It doesn't matter if it's empty, then actually you don't have to write it, because that's how it works in Torus. Like, it's object oriented, and if there's no init, then it will not, like, it will just skip. So it's the same thing. Anyways, so this is almost there for the basic functionality. I will try to make it prettier later, so don't worry. This is there, and when I click, okay, the scene 2, the second scene is working fine with the thresholded oscillator, and if it goes back again, it shows. But again, if you see it, refresh, it doesn't initialize with the first scene with this oscillator, and that's because right now this open function's only fired when it's next, and I don't know what's the best way. It's a bit hacky, but I would just say the first, like, we start with the -1 scene which doesn't exist, and then say next, so we don't have to write these functions. I mean, open, I mean, you can also do, like, you know, this scene 0 open here, but I thought this is maybe a bit hacky, but it's a bit cleaner. So that's that. And yeah, basically you can start from here as template and add more scenes, add more Hydra sketches that you like, or you create, yeah, and make a complex visual poetry from this. And because I have some time, like, it's still 22 minutes, so maybe I add a little bit of, make it a little bit prettier at least, and finish as my work, quote unquote. Okay, so what would be cool? I want to make this something a bit nicer. Maybe dot one color. I mean, I don't know if it's pretty or not, but the nice thing, again, I will say it over and over, but in Torus you can just, like, oh, this is not really readable, legible, but you can just write CSS and JavaScript and HTML tags in the same object. It's like encapsulated in the same object, which is super cool. And this already looks something. The sketch, I think I will change a little bit. My typing is really bad. Actually, I liked it when it's a bit reddish. Even more. And this is not red. No. I think from now on I will be, like, super quiet, just coding. Maybe that's too much. Yeah, but it's really fun, as you see. You know, this, like, once, the nice thing about these frameworks is that once you set up the whole logic, let's say, then you can spend quite a lot of time on this, let's say, creative part. I don't necessarily like that word, but it's really fun to just to spend time on the visuals. Wait, I think what I want to do here is in the example I made earlier, I added the CSS transition so that it doesn't just pop in but phase in, which would be nice. And I think the font size could be a bit bigger. I brush my teeth. And I don't know what would be the easiest way, but opacity is this opacity transition. CSS animation sounds a little bit overwhelming at first, but you always use transition with the key and the transition time, and that makes it super easy. And now actually I need the init again, because I need to say this opacity is initially 0, and when it's opened I'm gonna say this opacity is 1, and again this render, but I noticed that this doesn't work because it was not rendered before. I actually don't know, maybe it was not shown, so I need to say, I mean probably there are better ways to do it, but I do like super hacky way. Don't do this, but sometimes it just works. So set timeout. Well, I think this works. Yeah, like set timeout 0 is like the worst way to delay, or like making a like this promise kind of thing in JavaScript. But you know, this is a little example. I don't really mind. And you notice that once it's opened, the opacity is stuck to 1, so now it's not fading in anymore, which is not cool. Maybe I add close. I don't know if close is actually a keyword in Torus, because there are some words like remove that's reserved. I mean, it's used internally, but it's okay. Opacity is 0, this render, and then in the but that's okay. So in the parent poetry app, I would say before incrementing I would say close, but it will fail because I did this hacky trick. I don't know if like this is something like this would work. Yeah, this is basically a weird JavaScript I don't even know operator, so it only happens when this object exists. It's very weird. But it works. And oh no, it didn't work. So if undefined, then we do it. Oh, it's actually not working because close is not a function. Oh, because yeah, now I got it, because the problem is I only added close to the brush scene, and this scene doesn't have a close function, so I don't know what's the best. I'll just make it work. Dot close is not it's not undefined, then do it. Now it happens. Oh, I think I have to do the same thing with set timeout. Is it? Maybe it's different, something else could be, because once it's closed, oh yeah, no, it's a bit strange. because it's no longer rendered. So what I would do is actually, close was not really the important one, but I have to say at first opacity is 0. Like once it's opened, it's actually started opacity 0, and then after like 0 second or like fraction of time, I don't know what this is, like next step, it will change opacity to 1. I think it needs to render as well, just to refresh the opacity to 0, and then let's see. Oh no, it's not working. I mean, it's kind of working. 100 milliseconds, and I think it should work. Yeah. I mean, okay, this is not really the best way of writing JavaScript, but you know, if it works, it works. I brush my teeth. Maybe I need to make this a little bit bluish. I don't know, somehow. And I want to make some kind of shaky animation. Modulate with noise 1. I don't know how to make shaky animation. Noise pixelate 1. Not really. Why? I know, because it's too slow. I think it has to be like 100. Then no. Strange. Interesting. Like this. Because it's still slow. 1000. Yeah, it's modulating, but it's just make it super big number. 10,000. But I don't see it. Weird. And in fact, like if you feel like this is getting a bit cumbersome, you can always just open Hydra editor, which I normally do. Oops. And here you know, it's easier to, oh yeah, it has a little bit of jittery movement, but it's not very present. Yeah, I don't know what I want to do. Wait. Yeah, well, okay, we can say this is cool, but I wanted to make some kind of jittery motion, but maybe it's not really obvious because the oscillator is moving too. Oh, okay, I think it's not that, but I have to make the noise faster. Oh, it's kind of cool. And I think I would say color 1, 0. Yeah, I mean, let's say this is cool. I don't know if this is brushing my teeth, but once you're done, you just like place it here, and now I feel I want to change the color to black, and color of the scene is white, and yeah, this is kind of cool. Do I want another scene? Yeah, I mean, I'm just playing with this, so if you feel this, you want to start coding, you should just stop the video and do it on your own. I brush my teeth, I wash my face, I wash my face, and And again, if you add another scene, what you want to do is to say, just to, let's say, register here, new wash scene. Oops. So if you continue, I brush my teeth, I wash my face, I'll make this super cheesy by, I should have just copied the brush scene because this is what I wanted to do. Okay, so in the brush scene the opacity was changed, but wash scene, instead of opacity I want to say translate. Oh, why? But yeah, I can do that. And of course it has to init with y is, in this case it's not 0 is the center, let's say, and then I wanted to make it super far. Well, this is a little bit difficult depending on, oh, maybe not, 50%. I don't know how it works in CSS. Let's just try. So, and actually init was not needed because here it's editing the value anyways. Styles, okay, I'll copy this. Opacity, transition, well, I don't need opacity, but here, so instead of opacity I want to say transform, which is translate 0 and this y, the started pixels, and transform. Would this work? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, this is, looks very bad, but and what if I say percent? What is percent? No, the percent of this size, so maybe like BH, in the case not minus 100 but like minus 50 because it's in the middle. I don't know. This is very bad, but you know, I wanted to make something bad. Why not? And I just changed the color. Maybe, how do I do that? Like a ripple movement. Okay, in that case, like, I know that it will take some time, so I will go back to the editor. How do I do it? Collate? Yeah. And maybe increase this a bit. And I want to make it different direction. Yeah. I don't know, I'm not really happy with the color, but something like this. Is this washing my face? I don't know, but so now I woke up in the middle of the night, brush my teeth, I wash my face. This is bad. I would even add like rotate because this is funny. How does it work? It's not. I just cheat. This big, maybe something like this. I don't know if it works. Yeah, like 4 times. I don't know what I'm doing, but you can also multiply, rotate. I mean, this CSS transform is really cool. You should, if you're not familiar with it, I think there's a good documentation. Well, good documentation if you know it. And the MDN. Okay, this didn't work. Oh, because I didn't copy this. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it should be the other way around or whatever. But you know, it's really fun. I mean, you can see that it's really fun to explore the kind of synergy with the canvas of Hydra itself, but also and the HTML, DOM elements, text, transition, CSS. You can like you can really make use of all these things on the browser. It's not just WebGL. It's not just drawing on the canvas. And yeah, I think you will. I hope you will feel empowered with this. I'm not sure with this tutorial, but with this all these tools available. And again, this link to this project will be shared on in the description. And yeah, as I have my motivation to film new videos, I cannot promise when I do it again. Maybe tomorrow, maybe sometime later next year. But yeah, I'm really interested in exploring the potential, just like how I did, and share it with you. So please like the video if you liked it, and that will keep my motivation for sure. And yeah, if you have suggestions, please write in the comment, and have a nice day.